For those folks who aren't able to and give you the links in an email, because it seems that the chat window doesn't necessarily like our links. So if you want to send me an email, I can certainly send you those links. No problem.
Thank you, Sarah.
No worries. So just at 9:32, a little bit late. Sorry for that, folks. We just would like to get started today, and I'd like to start our time together by acknowledging that we are located in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded, traditional, and ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq Nation. I'd also like to note that these lands continue to be covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, and that we are all treaty people.
All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. So welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. And also thank you, as Sarah said a little while ago, this is our first time using this platform. So we're both very comfortable with online facilitation and technology, but every time you do something new, there's always little differences and things that we learn along the way. So thank you for that and your understanding as we work out some of these little kinks that just didn't anticipate. So as it is in our programs, it is a part of our day, and we just make it work. So thank you again. I want to start by talking a little bit about this workshop, and what we're going to be exploring today is looking at our transitions and schedules. And we'll talk a lot about transitions first, but transitions and schedules are so intertwined that we really can't look at one without looking at the other. So the goal with our schedules is to maximize the opportunities for children to be engaged, for you to be engaged with the children, and minimize those interruptions, minimizing the stops and starts, and minimizing the hurry up and wait kind of moments in the day, because that just takes away from all of our engagement and our time together. So what we'll be doing is looking at some general ideas around transitions. There'll be opportunities for you to share some ideas, because we all have great ideas and we're going to learn from each other. So thank you for joining us again. And if you have any questions along the way, we'll see that there is a Q&A section within the sidebar. So if you don't see the chat window, I do believe there's a little arrow with a line. You can expand that little sidebar, and that should bring up that. So if any time along the way you have any questions, you can put them in there. Feel free to go on mic. We absolutely love that, to have those conversations too. Chat is just fine as well. So as with online sessions, when people are chatting and they want to type, it's going to take a few minutes. So there may be some moments of silence here and there, and we understand that, and that's okay. And we'll give you time to type out your thoughts if that's your preference. So again, welcome, and hope you enjoy. So we're going to take a close look at the open activities, because there was a very big purpose for that. So purposefully, we started a few minutes late because things come up, right? We had, supposed to have choices. The idea was to give choices, right? There's a couple of different options there for you. Some people really enjoy the game type thing. The word search would appeal to them. Other people really like to reflect and write and journal, and we will get you the links in an email so you can continue those reflections as well. So there's choices. And as in our classrooms, different personalities have different interests and strengths, and we want to be able to give choice as much as possible, even during transitions. There was also some visual cues, right? So we wanted to make it known what you were to do. And so the clearer that we can be, the better, right? So that, you feel confident. And, like sometimes in these workshops, like, hello, anyone there, and then they're not sure, but this gave you some instruction. They knew what to do. And you had the choice. You could do one. Well, you couldn't do both, sorry. But the idea is, you can do one, or you could do both, or you could do neither one. There was no requirement to do either one of them, or something different that was a better preference for you. Absolutely fine. And also it was relevant to the interest, right? So thinking about how you present your activities, how you present your options, even in your transitions, right? You want to make it relevant to what's happening. And so the reflection is also a reflection on transitions as well. So that was the idea behind that opening activity. So even think about when your children come in the morning, right? How are they welcomed into the room? Do they have choices? Do they know what they're supposed to be able to do? Right? Thinking about, as we know, the interests of our children and providing interesting things for them to explore and engage in. So that was the morning, or the open activity, and we'll make sure we get you those links in email as well. So let me start with introductions. I'm just going to introduce myself first. So again, my name is Shannon Harrison. I am a consultant, an early childhood development consultant with the Department of Education and Early Childhood Development. So I work with regulated childcare programs and act as like a support and resource person for them as they look at all elements of their program. I'm a lifelong ECE. I realized the other day that July 4th was officially 34 years ago when my first day working in a childcare program. I was going to university. I was wanting a summer job, and I was on a sub list. And this daycare called up, and I was going to university to get my my teaching degree. And the daycare called up and said, "Do you want to work today?" And I was going to go to, I think, going to beach with my friends or something, but I said, okay, sure. And literally that changed my life, because I worked for that center all summer and for the next 3 years as I was going to university. And as things went on, I realized that this is really what I wanted to be. Those early years are so special, and it's such an honor to be with children at that early part of their lives. So I've done various roles within my time in these 34 years. So I've been an educator, mostly in toddler rooms. I get to say most of my experiences in toddler rooms. So when I give some examples today, there will be demonstrations with toddlers, but the idea of the toddlers, showing how it works with toddlers, you can always adapt it for older children and younger children as well. I've been a director of a program, and before coming to this position, I've only been in this position for about 5 months now, 4.5, 5 months. Before that, I was working at NSCEC. I was an instructor there and worked with students. So I've had a variety of experiences, and I've seen a variety of environments over my years, and transitions are really important to me, because I really believe that they can set the tone for your whole day. And when I talk with educators, the most frustrating parts of their day are usually actually transitions. And when we dig down into how those transitions are structured, we find out that there's some things that could be considered for some changes. So that's enough about me. I want to get a sense of you all. So I'm just going to ask a couple of questions first, and I'm going to get a sense of, there we go. All right, so I want to get a sense of what age groups of people here are working with. So you should see a poll, hopefully. This is, again, like I said, the first time we're using that. So if you can see a poll up on your screen, then you can hopefully submit your response there.
Shannon, it says that it's a draft still for me.
Oh, but I published it. Okay. Because I just published it too. All right,
I think I was able to publish it. Do folks see it now?
Okay, you know what? I'm just going to do a new one right now.
Will it come on the screen, or do you have to go under polls?
Yeah, I think you have to go under polls, Charlene, if you can just change your view to poll. And you can confirm if you see that one or not.
Yep, I see it says, how comfortable are you with the transitions and schedule you have in place now?
Yeah.
All right, great, good to know. I know other times the polls pop up on the screen. So yeah, so if you go into the sidebar and click polls, then you see a question that should say, what age group do you work with? Do you see that?
Yeah, I see that one.
All right. Sarah, do you see the answers coming in?
Pardon me?
You see answers coming in?
No.
No, I don't either.
I think perhaps you have to hit show results, Shannon.
I just thought that maybe. Oh, there we go. Okay. It doesn't show. Again, everyone's different, right? All these platforms. Sometimes you see the results as they're coming in. So, okay. Oh, all the polls are there. All right. Well, I can see then all the polls are there. So if you see there's a few other questions as well. So what age group you work with, as well as how comfortable you with the transitions that are in place right now, and then what kind of setting do you work in. So you can feel free to answer all of those. And something else you want to share, you can put it in the chat window as well, and just get a sense of the group.
May, I think you might need to join the audio and video. Can you hear us, May?
So Sarah, it looks like there are 9 people on audio, but then 13. Is there some more people maybe that?
I think so. So I'm just going to through the chat, and then hopefully everyone will join, so we can see, so they can see what's happening.
I wonder, are they still in reception? No, sorry everyone. We're apologies again, and thank you for helping us work through these little differences. Okay, so we see some. All right, so age groups. So we have a variety, mostly preschool ages, toddler school age, other roles as well. Okay, thank you. Pre-primary settings. So we do have some pre-primary folks, regulated childcare, and we have people feeling mostly comfortable with the transitions. Some parts can be a little bumpy. Someone feels very comfortable, and of course, all of us will have things that really successful. So we can all share that as we go through some of the material. All right, so we'll leave the polls up there as people join. They can work their way through those as well. So thank you for that. So transitions. We're going to think about our transitions. So let's actually make a list. How many transitions do you have over the course of your day? So we're going to make a list together. And if you want to, either in the chat, you can type out some transitions, typical transitions we see. You can go on mic. Morning drop off. Inside to outside. Cleanup, yes. Departure. Okay, looks like that's a good list. So, oh, okay, classroom, sorry. Yes, okay, let's add that too. So, moving to other parts of building. Okay, So it's great that thinking about morning drop off and departures, because sometimes people have to be reminded that that is a transition. And so when the children arrive at the center, when you think about it, they've actually had 4, 5, even 6 transitions until they get to that point where they're walking in your door, right? To get up, they have to get dressed, if they use the washroom or get diapers changed, they have to have breakfast, get in the car, right? So lots of things going on already for them. And we've all had children coming in the mornings and the parents be like, oh, here they are. Sometimes the children are still in their pajamas, or sometimes they may have breakfast in their mouth still, or they have their security object, something with them, right? And so we know some of those mornings aren't always the greatest either. So it's great to realize that morning drop off is a transition, and that we have to plan intentionally for that. Inside to outside, so we know that happens probably at least two times a day. Bathroom breaks, they're multiple times a day as well, sometimes 3 or 4, right? Lunch, clean up, that happens more than once as well. So it could be, 2 to 3 times a day. Departure, group time, generally speaking, group times are like, maybe like a circle time or some larger group gathering time. And that's usually 1 a day. Moving to other parts of the building, that could happen 1 or 2 times, especially if your washrooms are outside your classroom, right? Then there's multiple moving around during the building during the day. So I know that with most of the audience being pre-primary folks, that, that nap time is usually not a transition into pre-primary programs. So some programs sometimes have a rest time, but that can be different from room to room. So if we're thinking about regulated childcare, then we have to add the transition for nap time as well. So when you think about these transitions as well, that it's not just like lunch. It's moving from usually, outside to bathroom to lunch. And so all of these things are, going inside to outside. Bathroom is going from one thing to another, going from lunch to nap, or lunch to quiet time, or things like that too. So when you think about it, a large part of our day is actually in some kind of transition. Sarah. Okay. True. That's right. May notes that even if it is a large group time and we're not forcing children, as May says, to go to circle time, when the child has a choice as well, yes, it is a time that they have to move. And so we're going to talk about transitions as a large, group, considering the entire classroom, but also thinking about transitions as individual children as well too. And the more that we can move from a teacher-directed time to a child-initiated moment, then the more that they have the control, and the more that they, feel competent and confident in all of those visions that we have for children too. So there's a lot of transitions in our day. And when you think about that, how much of your day is actually spent in some kind of transition, right? When you break that down and think about how much time are actually moving children from one thing to another, or from one time of the day to the other, right? It actually ends up being quite a bit. So that's why it's really important to think about our transitions. So when we think about the Nova Scotia Learning Framework, right, we think about how the learning goals that we have, outcomes we want to see, we want to have strategies for those learning goals. Transitions fit into a lot of our learning goals, a lot of our strategies. And we plan circle times, we plan our invitations, we plan so much of our day, but how often do we really intentionally plan our transitions as well? So we want to give that a lot of thought, as much as the other times of the day. And so when children realize, as I said, they can have more control over their day, then they feel capable and they become more confident. And then they, it just falls right into the vision of our framework, right? Capable, confident, and curious. And so once they feel competent and safe, and then they feel confident, then they feel like they can really explore their environment. They feel safe and they feel secure. So learning goal number 1, for example, well-being, right? One objective is children taking increasing responsibility for their own health and physical well-being. And we know a lot of our transitions are physical care routines, right? A lot of them around getting dressed properly to go outside, the washroom itself, transitioning to lunches and all those things like that too. So we can really plan intentionally for that. And the learning goal number 4, we think about personal social responsibility, right? Is that when transitions are really planned well and planned thoughtfully, then we are considering other people. We're considering the needs of all the children, and children, once they get more control, then they that falls in line with self-regulation, and that falls in line with having that confident sense of self, which is socially emotional, it's self-regulation, all of those things that we would love for children to have. It can come from these transitions and giving them that competence. So we're going to define transitions. I know people have a general idea of what it is, but we're just going to dig down a little deeper into that. So there's a tool that's been used widely. It's probably one of the most widely used tools in assessing early childhood environments, called the ECRS, the Early Childhood Environment Rating Scale. And within the ECRS, they have kind of a standard in good programs that children should be waiting for no more than 3 minutes with nothing to do. So this doesn't mean that your transitions have to be shorter than 3 minutes. The reality in group settings is that they're going to take some time to do transitions. It means that if there's no stimulation for more than 3 minutes, they're going to start finding their own ways to entertain themselves. And this is where we start getting some of the frustrations and maybe some of the more challenging behaviors. So in a good basic developmental program, the goal is 3 minutes where they're not doing anything, right? Where they're waiting with nothing to do. At an excellent level, enhancing those good programs, the ECRS says there should be no waiting. Transitions are smooth and everything is ready for children. So it's it's a good goal to have and something to always aim for. Will it always happen? No, things happen, things get in the way, but it is a good goal to say, let's go aim for 3 minutes where they're not engaged in anything of any kind. So the thing with transition to think is that it's not just a single event, right? That's really important to consider, because it actually is a change from one activity period to another. Right? So when you say go get dressed to go outside, what you're actually saying is take your shoes off, put them somewhere, go to your cubby, pull out all your clothes. And if it's wintertime, pull out your snow pants, your boots, your jacket, your mittens, your hat, maybe some kind of other wrap around for the neck, all these different things. And, the go get dressed to go outside is actually 7, 8, could be 9 different things that they have to do in order for it to be successful to go outside. So it's a change. It's not just a single event. And there are several steps that have to be considered within these transitions. Same with cleanup, same with go to the bathroom, right? Go in the bathroom means, there's 7, 8 different steps involved in that as well too. So we want to rethink transitions, that it's not just go get dressed. It's breaking it down to the finest of detail. Some children can handle it really well. As with all things, other children need a little bit more assistance to cope with the changes. They maybe need a little bit more time, and we know our children well, and so we can adapt for that. But knowing, again, several steps involved in each transition. So we've now realized that transitions take a large part of both of the children's day, but also our day as well. Right. And so we want it to be smooth. We want it to be able to be enjoyable. Right. We shouldn't have a lot of group extended times, a lot of times where everybody does the same thing all the time. So we want to look at individualizing the transitions as much as possible. So we're not going to have 16 4-year-olds going to the bathroom at the same time, right? We don't want to have every child getting dressed in the same area at the same time. Like ideally, we want to be able to individualize it as much as possible. So we want to avoid children wandering around aimlessly or waiting because we know what's going to happen. A transition should not be abrupt. right? We need to, as we know, we need to prepare the children that something's going to happen. We need that ourselves, right? We don't do well all the time if all of a sudden it's like, wait, what? You having to shift gears, right? So we don't want to just abruptly stop arbitrarily to move on to something else. We can also use transitions as a time to engage children in conversation, to promote learning, to encourage curiosity. There's lots of things that we can do in those transitions to help with that, and think about their learning in all the different ways, right? We know that a lot of social emotional development can happen during our transitions. There could be cognitive, language, all different kind of possibilities in transition times. And we know good transitions, your day is smoother. If your day is smoother, then everybody's more relaxed and you will get fewer challenges, which then in turn means you get more time with the children, right? So that's our ultimate goal, is to be less, less housekeeping and more engaging with children and just being with them. So let's look at an example. So this is Aman. Aman is 3 years old. She enjoys playing in the dramatic play area and interacting with friends. When the teacher announces that it is time to clean up and sit on the carpet for group time, Aman gets very upset. She throws toys and pushes other children. When the teacher comes to near her, Aman starts screaming and saying that she's not done playing. So the first question is, why might she be acting this way? So have a think about that, and you can put some thoughts in the chat as well.
She may not be aware of what the expectations are of the transition or what's next, so she's acting out that way.
Thank you, Charlene. Carolyn asked, did she get a warning well in advance? So Monterey, I hope I said that properly. Sorry, Monterey. Apologies if I said
You can just call me Ryo.
Ryo, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ryo. Individualized may work better for Aman. Okay. Recognizing that she maybe didn't know what to do. Could it be chaotic, overwhelming? Imagine if it's cleaning up and all this hustle and bustle going around you. Wants to stay dressed up. Okay. Lots of good possibilities, lots of deep thinking there. So we're going to come back to this after a little while, but just for now, just thinking about that scenario. And we'll just look at one more. So this is Jim. Jim's 4 years old, new to the program. Oh, sorry, Rayo. Yeah, benefit from visual cues. All right, great. We're thinking ahead already. Wonderful. New to the program, he and other preschoolers in the classroom are playing on the playground. When Miss Johns calls them to go inside, they all gather next to the entrance door. Jim stays in the sandbox. When Miss Johns approaches him and asks him to come with her, he starts crying, screaming, and then drops to the ground. So again, why might Jim be acting this way? I think there's a subtle difference here because it seems very similar to the previous one. New, right? Thank you, Charlene. Yeah, he's not understanding. Everyone has to go in the same time. right? The routine, going outside to inside. What's going to happen next, right? I'd also wonder how much time have they had outside. Yes, Caroline, yes. We're going to look at the whole of the day when we get to looking at schedules. But yeah, we have to look at the blocks of time that we give to the various parts of our days as well, too, could affect how children react when those activities stop. So yeah, so we're going to keep that image in our mind as we work through some of the finer details with transitions, and then we'll come back to this with some possible strategies after that. So we're going to think more about that. What we do want to imagine is, what is a good transition? What does it look like? And I was trying to think of visuals, and somehow that, train track, the transition, you actually have to change, right? So you're actually like almost like moving tracks, but sometimes it feel like this, where everybody is going everywhere, and there's no no cohesion or no like set direction. So yeah, Charlene, hopefully not like the second photo. So I hope, I saw that, thought that was a really interesting visual for what transitions could look and hopefully feel like, more like the first one as well. So yeah, so that's our goal, is to make things smooth and clear, right? We know exactly where we're going. So there are some good principles, or principles for good transitions you always want to think of. So as you're looking at these, you can think about your own classrooms and maybe doing a little checklist in your mind, saying, maybe, we could explore some of those in a little more detail as well. So good transitions have advanced notice. I think that, that's a fairly common understanding in our classrooms, is that we want to prepare them for a change. Right, children don't like change, and neither do we. Right, for that matter, it's hard for us to change as well, too. Change gears and to shift to a different thing. So, lots of programs do 5 more minutes. Right, very common. But sometimes it looks like this, where the educator stands in the middle of the room and says, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes to clean up time, everybody, 5 more minutes. Then we're going to go outside. 5 more minutes. Right, and not really talking to anyone in particular. So some children may not hear that. They don't hear their name, so they think, that doesn't apply to me. So generally speaking, an announcement like that is not as effective. Of maybe instead of going around to each group of children and letting them know that it's going to be time to finish up soon. So, finish up your play. We're going to be going outside soon. You can say 5 minutes or soon. Like, children don't really know what 5 minutes feels like in terms of a measurement of time, but they know that soon something is going to change. Yes, Charlene, yes, exactly. Is that, it could be 2 minutes, it could be just soon, so sometimes, if we want to give them a sense of the passage of time, the same 5 minutes and 10 minutes, but soon we're going to be cleaning up. You also want to give some groups more notice than others, right? The block area can get really busy and get really involved, and it will, have lots of things to clean up. Showing a great YouTube video, 10-minute countdown. That's interesting. Would you have that handy, the link? We can maybe post that in the chat. If no pressure if you can't, no worries if you can't. But that's a good idea too. And so we want to, tell them, think about wrapping things up soon, right? Preparing them for that. Because when we just arbitrarily and just immediately stop them from their play, what message are we sending? Right? That it's 9:30, we need to stop and move on to our next thing, right? But maybe they're so deeply involved in their play, and by arbitrarily just cutting it off, I would be a little upset about that too. Yeah, lack of respect. Thank you, May. Yes, absolutely. Lack of respect for them and their play, right? And so they're going to push back a little bit against that. And so we, in my classroom, we'll talk about this more when we talk about schedules, but we didn't go by the clock, Like we went by blocks of time. So we kind of get the feel of the room. You know that, you get the feel of the classroom. And sometimes you can think, I think we need to get outside a little sooner today, right? And so you may wrap up a little more quickly. Other days may be so involved that we'll just let them go a little longer with it. So thinking about it as blocks of time, and thinking there's a natural kind of time to start moving into another part of your day. And so we talked a bit already about individuals, but thinking about individuals as well as large group, right? And so when I think of individuals, I'm thinking of like not big transitions, but some kind of moment where that child's going to be interrupted. So when I think of infants and toddlers, right, I had an epiphany once. Someone said it to me years and years ago, and it was like, oh my gosh, right? Like what do we do with infants and toddlers, right? And they've got a runny nose, grab it and shove the Kleenex in their nose or wipe their nose and say blow or something, right? But realizing how even that is and abruptly interfering with them, right? So always preparing a child for an individual transition. I'm going to wipe your nose now. I'm going to pick you up. I need to change your diaper. I'm going to take you to the bathroom, right? Like, especially with younger children, when they have more and more of those physical care needs, right? Always prepare the child for that first. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to wipe your nose. They're just walking up behind them and putting the nose in. I also think of that with all ages, and I've seen it before where they're at the table and educators just push their chairs into the table. And I always think about lunchtime. I think about how would I feel if I was in a restaurant and a server did that to me, just came up behind me and shoved my chair under the table, right? So I would say, I'm going to push your chair in now, sticking out a little bit, or just asking them, just telling every child, like, if you have to do something to them or for them, preparing them for that too, right? It is a respect thing. May you don't have a clock in my class. Oh, Denise, okay, you don't have a clock. May split the group into smaller ones. Right, transition, right. So there may be some children who are done a little more quickly and are ready to go outside, and so they'll clean up quickly and head off, and maybe you can split them up. So that's good. We'll get to some strategies soon as well. So, really making those connections, that's wonderful. So again, this is an example from my toddler room because, that's where my experiences were. But I chose this picture because I know they're old pictures, but they still really relate to the message is that in our mornings that we would have a time we had to do diapers, and we have snack and all those things that were going on, right? And so we would change children's diapers during free play, and we would be very intentional of who would get to go to the bathroom. Sometimes I've seen it where they say, okay, you're next, you're next, you're next. And wherever they are in the classroom, they'll go around and get them, take them to the bathroom. But again, if we are just abruptly removing a child from their play, what's that saying, the message that's giving to them? So in this particular time, looking at, okay, we need to change diapers. So let's look at the situation and which child would you want to maybe approach in this moment in time, where you want to approach to have them come to the washroom with you. This one's looking at, these are family photos on the wall. So every group at that time had a poster board. Oh, great. Thank you, Charlene. Child being held. This was a very common play in my classroom for pretty much all the time. It is buses. They would move the chairs around and make a bus with them, and it'd be a bus, a train, a plane. It'd be all kinds of things. And so they're deeply involved in this kind of imaginary play. Oh, yes, Carolyn, they are reading a book. Yes, they are reading a book. So I was going to add that detail as well too. Is that we could go over there. I would go over there, and when they're done reading, then maybe say, okay, when you're done reading, or until they're done reading, hey, before you move on to something else, you want to try and see if they're ready now. I wouldn't interrupt these children at play, right? They're in the middle of something, so I wouldn't just stop and say, okay, your turn, your turn, your turn, your turn, right? This one's who's reading, I would definitely let them finish. And then I would, keep that in mind, that wait till they're done reading. I'm not going to interrupt them. I'm not even going to say anything to interrupt them while they're reading. This little one over here, looking at her poster, right? So I would go and sit down beside her and we're talking about you missing your mommy, or, looking at the pictures and that. And then when, we finish our conversation, you ready? We need to go change your diaper. Do you want to come with me now? And before moving on to something else. So when I was talking about like being very intentional, right, and not just picking them at random and thinking about, okay, someone needs to get something done, so let's just watch. And then if one of these ones kind of finishes up with their play before they get engaged in something else, I might try to say, hey, we need to get your diaper checked. So let's go to the bathroom now, or do you want to come in a few minutes? Right? So give them, again, control one choice. We'll talk about that too. So yeah, so looking very intentionally at when we have to do those physical care routines, that we're really thoughtful about that. So with older children as well too, I'll bring this back later, but it popped in my mind. Reading is what I've sometimes seen in classrooms is we have the large group together and one educator's reading and the other educator is taking 2 or 3 at a time to the bathroom. And what I see happening is they're reading, other person says, okay, you and you come, right? So it's cutting off the story. And then they're getting up and they're blocking people's view and they're going off and coming back. And, there's lots of movement and children are trying to read and they're trying to move around and they get distracted. And again, the message that, especially with reading, I think is so important and so vital. And that we want to give that, that respect that they deserve to have that time with reading, and not the message that this is just a distraction while we do our things with you, right? So, I would never want to cut anyone off from a literacy opportunity. Well, for any opportunities, but definitely with reading too. So, familiar cues, right? We know about the brain. The brain loves patterns. The brain loves repetition and cues and predictability. So, we want to give familiar cues. And then become habit, right? So research is showing that habits, and this is any kind of habit, so any kind of change to a habit, it could take about 21 days or 25 repetitions of something to actually become ingrained as a habit. So if you do change something, right, and you do have a new cue, yes, thank you, Denise. You want them to feel like they're doing is not important. That's right? The messages we want to give with respect and validate what they're doing. So if you do change something, to not just give it 1 or 2 days and say, well, that didn't work, and go back to old ways, right? We know it has to take some time. When I made a change in my office, I changed my garbage can from this side of my desk to that side of my desk, and for a week I'm still throwing things over here on the floor and going, getting up and moving it, right? Then I was starting to, oh, no, it goes over here. And even a simple little change like that took me time to get used to again, right? So we have to remember that if we do make a change to our routines or transition, we have to give it at least 21 days, 3 weeks, 25 attempts, give it time and not to give up on it too soon. So, don't just try it once and say, well, that didn't work. You may need to refine and tweak things, but definitely you want to stick with it. So you also want to make sure you get their attention, right? So this YouTube video, that would be, a way of becoming a pattern, a routine. They got used to that and they use that. You could use wind chimes to get their attention, a pleasant sounding bell. One time we would sometimes put on a little jazzy music at cleanup time, and encourage movement and encourage the a little faster music, right? Encourage them to move. People can dim the lights. We used to dim our lights before lunchtime, not before nap, but before lunchtime, because that just brings down the message. It brings down the noise level. It's just the atmosphere. I don't know if anyone knows Pat Hogan. Pat Hogan was an educator, an amazing educator, advocate, passionate, just a wonderful mentor of mine. I was in her classroom once and it was free play. And so she turned the lights off, and the classroom bunny, who had free reign of the entire place, started hopping back to its cage. And I said, did that bunny? And she's like, yep. I said, because you turned the lights off? Yep. And this bunny knew, lights are off. The bunny hopped back to the cage. I'll never forget that moment. But, right. So the cues, it was, maybe we put our nap time music on before lunch started as well. So just those cues, the visual cues can help what's going to come in the classroom. So how else can this look? Other ways that you can use your environment to give cues about what's going to happen next. Right. So there's other things that you can use, that the visual cues that will trigger, oh yeah, something else is going to happen. So yeah, Charlene, wow, I'll never forget that. It was amazing. Any other ideas, visual cues? I know there's lots of songs and things as well too, right? I'm thinking, there's lots of different songs that we use and YouTube and things as well too. But we can also use our environment as cues. So we can come back to that. Visual schedule. Yes. Visual cues. Excellent. Yeah. Special event or puppet. Yes. So interesting, Carolyn, because I have a picture that a visual cue in my classroom, and I just pulled this because it was a picture that had it, is this little pink bag. It's my circle time bag. And in there I had special things that only came out at my circle times. And when they saw my pink bag come out of the cupboard, they knew, and they just started running over to circle time, because there's a puppet in there that actually starts a circle time. And there's that time I was doing a whiteboard story or something. And so that bag was always something engaging and mysterious, and they knew something exciting was going to happen. So they just automatically started coming over when they saw the bag come out. And so, yeah, guitar, absolutely. So those kind of cues can help as well. Visual schedules. We have a visual schedule, visual indicators of all the steps for hand washing, including like using a paper towel to turn off the tap, right? So those pictures of children in the classroom and helping give the visual reminders of parts of the steps of that transition. So even 18-month-olds can learn to turn the tap off with a paper towel. Because you think about the taps, right? They're contaminated. Every time you go to the bathroom, you turn the tap on and the taps are contaminated. So if you just wash your hands and turn it off, your hands become contaminated again, right? So we taught them from day one to use the paper towel to turn the tap off. And the visual cues helped remind them of that.
Just a funny little quirky thing from last year. We had a little boy that needed a visual schedule for getting dressed for outside, because he might put a boot and then a hat and like that. So when we did it, we just copied them off of the computer, the images, and he paid no attention. So we actually took pictures of his own physical things, and he followed that to a T every day. Once it was his own things, and he made the connection that it was his stuff.
Yeah, I think that the real pictures, I know that there's lots of clip art out there that we can use as well too, and we use the real, their own tables, their own beds, everything that they would recognize too. So yeah, so visual cues can really help. I think we also tend to forget, or maybe just because we have so much to do, how important it is to be clear and specific in our directions. So when we say cleanup time, what does that mean? Right? Like we say, hey, can you put 5 of those things in that basket for me? Oh, I need the books on the shelf. Can you help me put these books up on the shelf? Right? So cleanup time is such a general comment, right? So be more specific with that. Go to the bathroom. Okay, then what? Right? So it's okay. Do you want to go wash your hands? You give them a chance to say no. No, I don't want to wash my hands. Well, too bad you have to, right? So how we say our requests is really important, right? And if we say, do you want to, because we want to be polite. Okay, do you want to go wash now? Nope. oh, well, you kind of back yourself into the corner and say, well, okay, you have to. So, you've just undermined that children's autonomy and all of that too, right? Totally accidentally and unintentionally, but every word we say is so important. Time to wash your hands for lunch. Yes, it is a woman to say cleanup time. Just, be general, like just be more specific. You can make games, pick a certain color, right? You get the red Legos, you get the blue Legos, or something like that. I used to play a game and say, how old are you? I'm 4. Okay, I need you to put 4 blocks on the shelf for me, or something like that, right? And first then is really powerful. Yeah, I found that was really a good way. First we do this, then we can do that. Time to reset our classroom. Yeah, don't yes, ask no if it's not a choice. That's right. Right. Want to give them choice as much as possible. But sometimes there are just things that you have to wash your hands before lunch. So first wash your hands, then we'll have our lunch, right? So really purposeful with how we use our words. But yeah, I had one guy that I was going around the room and how old are you? Okay, I need you to put 4 books in the shelf. You put 3 of this up, or and I had one guy, he was probably 5. And I said, okay, how old are you? He looked at me, he grinned, he said, I'm 1. And I just paused. I'm like, okay, go put 1 book on the shelf. I just was so impressed with that thinking that, I couldn't say anything to that, right? Okay, you go put 1 book. And he knew we were laughing about it, right? So just, if you play that game, you get prepared for their answers. So I love Calvin and Hobbes. And I think this cartoon illustrates the idea perfectly. So he says, goodness, you're filthy. Into the tub with you. I obey the letter of the law, if not the spirit. Let's hear some water running. Ah, nuts. So he said, go to the bathroom. They could go to the bathroom, but then what, right? So being really clear. And I know earlier when we were looking at the little girl that was having troubles after dramatic play, and someone had said the expectations weren't clear, right? So what we're doing is we're giving our expectations, making sure that they're really clear, really specific. So what you want to do, establish eye contact, right? Now, being culturally aware as well is that, in some cultures, eye contact is not part of what they teach the young people. I remember when I was learning back in the early 90s, when I was in my ECE program, right? We always said, look at me when I'm talking to you. You wanted me sometimes, kind of like, move their chin so they're looking you in the eye when I'm talking to you. But I learned that in some of the indigenous communities that it was a sign of respect to look down when you're talking to your elders. And so, you want to be culturally sensitive to that as well, but somehow maybe touching them on the shoulder, making sure you have their attention, right? Saying their name. We all respond to our names. When you hear your name and your ear kind of moves, like you really tune into your name. So saying their names, so just saying, okay, you over there in the block areas, you guys all clean up over there, saying names, I need you to, or, first we're going to do this, then we'll do that. But using their names, then they realize, oh, they're talking to me. Instead of just saying cleanup time, right? They think, oh, that's not me. So using their names, limit the number of instructions given at one time. Right. So, okay, go take off your shoes, go to the bathroom, have a pee, wash your hands, and then go in the hallway and get dressed. Right. That's a lot to remember. And so I always try to use a rule of thumb as maybe 1 direction per year of age in general. Rail. Oh, eye contact. No, Africa. Thank you for sharing that. That's yeah. So that's something that we have to be, really aware of and cultural, cultural differences in that. Pairing an outgoing child with a shy child. Yeah, peers, yes, and we will talk about using peers as well. So yeah, 1 instruction per year of age, generally speaking, right? So a toddler, 2-year-old, I could tell them maybe 2 things: go put your shoes in the spot that we had, and then let's go to the bathroom. Okay, now let's have a pee, and then we can break it down even further. But still, some 4-year-olds can only handle one direction at a time. And then you've got to follow behind and make sure they complete it, right? So breaking down your instructions into the smallest of details, and then that is clarity to them, and those, again, sets up the expectations for them. So another really effective one in our classroom was using an adult begin the next activity. So in our morning routine, we had free play. We had open snack. We'll talk about open snack as well too, and see if there's any conversation around what that looks like. But we had open snack within our free play. And so towards the end of snack time, most of the children have eaten, and maybe 1 or 2 children left at the table still eating. I would get my circle time bag and I would sit down in our circle time spot. And so they were still finishing. We would have to wait for them to finish to start. They were behind me. I would turn around and include them in part of my greetings in the morning, because our good morning song always acknowledged each child. I had 4 different good morning songs, but every one of them would acknowledge each child and make sure that they're included. And then when they're done, they just came over and joined us, right? So we want to try to make it as smooth as possible so that they can just seamlessly move to the next part of the day. So if you don't have to wait for everyone to be there, then it sometimes helps motivate the children to maybe move on if they need to. The more educators down on the floor at that level participating, right, you're part of it, right? You're because you can be, the transitions are smooth. You don't have to be maybe policing as much and directing traffic as much, right? If children are quicker or slower, right, then they're not hurry up, or whoa, slow down, right? So we acknowledge the different abilities and different paces. And so you can do that with, getting ready to go outside, getting ready, circle times. You can do that with snacks and things too. So you want to try to figure out how can we use this to our advantage. And so when someone was doing circle time, the other person in my classroom would be getting stuff ready for the next part of the day. So we know, long waiting times, so nothing to do, guidance problems start happening. Now you start really becoming more like the police and directing traffic kind of thing, right? So this takes a lot of communication, a lot of planning, right? And it's sometimes a trial and error, and you may have to adjust to particular children in a particular group. It may work 1 year great and the next year not at all, right? So you've got to really talk with the team and figure out who's going to do what, when, and where. So repertoire, songs, games, as we change. So we'll have a time to share some of those. So when I talked about one of us doing circle time, what the other person was doing was starting to get ready to go outside. Yeah, Carolyn, if it's the way for everyone, right? So especially in the wintertime, if you're first one dressed, you're sitting there, you're hot, you're sweaty, you're uncomfortable. And yeah, it kind of is a disincentive to get ready. So we had 12 toddlers in our room, and this is a narrow hallway. Again, this is, our physical space. It was a narrow hallway. So getting 12 children dressed in this space was not conducive, right? It was crowded. It was, it was busy. So we actually split them up, and half of them got ready out in the hall and half of them got ready in the classroom. So if I was doing a circle time, which I call them circle time, but my circle times were very, they were very interactive and engaging and mostly fun. And some days they were 5 minutes, sometimes 10, but I've always kind of gauge it by the children's interest levels. So the other person, you can see what she did is put the jackets out, but only the jackets out, and just ready. They can go out and they can just flip, up and over and flip their jackets in. In the wintertime, we would put out just the snow pants to start with. So they can go out, and you can see the boots are purposefully right by the lockers. They can hang onto the locker as they step into their boots, right? So only one part. We don't put the whole pile of clothes on the floor. We just start with one thing. And so they can sit down and just pull their pants on, even toddlers, right? So we know preschoolers are much more capable of those physical self-help skills. And this would allow the time to help a child who's needed. Now you can see my coworker there didn't actually do it for the child, but was behind the child and guiding them. Now do this and pull this up and poke out your toes, and then you can see them, that they're able to focus on that and work at getting those feet, because that's a hard job. You can see the concentration and the tongue sticking out. They're really thinking, right? And just a chance to be able to work on that themselves, and just the pride of I did it, right? And even the young toddlers, that's I did it. And so by just starting out with part of the necessities for going outside, summer's a lot easier. Here's your hat, right? And off we go. Sometimes you change shoes or not, but there's usually something like a jacket at least that they'll have to put on. Even sunscreen, we would do the children's sunscreen when we were changing their diapers, because we knew that sunscreen is good for the 2 hours. We had the big SPF 50 or whatever, and so it was just part of our diaper routine. We would put their sunscreen on, so it was individualized then too. They weren't all waiting. And the older children, they would do some of their own sunscreen. I know out of classrooms, they had a little station and they would go over and do their sunscreen with the supervising teacher, making sure to get, all the spots that the child can't reach, but including them in their routines. So being purposeful with how, that's, and so this is all being done while I was doing circle. So I'm done circle. Okay. And it's always the same 6 in the hallway. So it was always I had 6 for my primary group and my coworker had the other 6. And they always knew that my 6 would go in the hallway. So we set up the coats that way, right? So they knew exactly where they were going. So that minimizes the chaos, right? They know, okay, my clothes are always in the hallway. My clothes are always in the classroom. That's how we had it set up in ours, right? They can move purposefully. They know where they're going. Another thing that we did while circle time was happening, the way that our schedule worked is that we would go circle time, we would go outside and come in and get ready for lunch. And that getting ready for lunch is always a tough transition. That was always my probably hardest one of the day, right? Because there's so much going on. And I would say a lot of people would agree with that. So what we would do is we would set it up. So before I was done circle, the other educator would put the water bottles at the table and have some books at the table. And so we come in, get your shoes on. Okay, go to your table. Again, this was always my table with my group, and always her table at her group at her table. So they could go find your chair, and it's not always the same chair because we didn't have labels or anything like that, but they knew their water bottles. They would go and find their water bottle and sit down. And then they'd have books while we're waiting and doing the bathrooming and all of that, getting ready for lunch. So, in this way you can move if you have a little one that needs more support at lunchtime, they can have them beside you, but having things ready and those things, go find your chair, and they knew exactly where to go, right? Beds are always in the same location at nap time. They know exactly where their bed is. So, again, going back to moving purposely, there's no doubt where they are going. So that consistency, really important. This was already brought up as well, giving classroom responsibilities, right? Helping peers. Sometimes they respond more positively to their peers than us, right? Sometimes they have that. I found in my classroom, I had 18 months to 3-year-olds. And so the 3-year-olds really liked being helpers and would enjoy helping with the littler ones. Also, then we can, free us up to support children who need a little bit more assistance during those times. So often would have children helping each other with their shoes, sometimes successfully, sometimes need a little bit of extra support, but, they would help get shoes on. They would put the beds away. Here's a quick video just showing the children, and they said, okay, we need to put the beds away, and they would just do this on their own. So these are 2-year-olds. And think about what's happening during this moment here. Excuse me, Farah.
Excuse us. I'm there helping you now. Over here, sir, he says.
Oh no, that's a flop. Okay, kill him. Yeah.
Sarah, come away from me. Come on. Sarah, come away from the door. Thanks, Christopher.
So it wasn't rushed, right? You can see that the child jumped in to help, and we just I didn't give them a lot of direction. They figured it out on their own. So that was a very common practice in our classroom. They would help each other put the beds away, and on Fridays. Now I will say this was 15 years ago. So the bedding would be stored differently now, right? We know that the standards around how that's stored is different. So the practice would be a little different now, but getting the children involved as much as possible in the routines. So how are we feeling? I don't know, with the 2-hour workshop, sometimes if a 5-minute break is helpful, just to take a break from looking at the screen. Would people like a 5-minute break? Would you want to, we can carry on? How are people feeling? Okay, no, all right, we have no, okay, good, okay, well, why don't we just carry on? There's more opportunities for you to contribute as well, so I'll make sure that we hear from everybody too. So we'll carry on. So as you're probably already thinking about transitions and the routines in your own classroom, this is a nice little checklist for you to work through as you're going through your day. So, we spend so much time planning circle and small group times and large groups, and, that we need to think more intentionally about the transitions too. Okay, no, thank you, Carolyn. This is recorded, so I'm not sure how, but they will be accessible after as well too. So we'll be able to come back and watch the rest. And I know that there'll be a way to other people can come watch later as well. So thank you for that. Okay, so questions. So do you plan your daily schedule to include transition times, right? What are the children and adults doing during those times? So do you actually plan that? And probably you do. And, there may be little things that you might want to try. You're thinking already for next time, but, planning those transitions. So limiting the number of transitions. We're going to count how many transitions do you have in your day, and are there ways to eliminate some of those transitions? Do they have enough time to finish what they're doing? Right. Some of the resistance may be that, they didn't have enough time to really get deeply into their play. And that's where in free play, when you have open snack embedded in your morning free play, your free play extends for at least another half an hour. And you get rid of 1, 2, 3 transitions during that time. And it allows for children who come in at 8:45. Now, I know in pre-primary, most of the children come in at the same time, but sometimes maybe children are a little bit later. In regulated settings, some people could be there at 7:30, some people may be there at 9. And so having the free play allows those children who come later still have a chance to really get engaged in some kind of meaningful experiences as well. So thinking about, do they have enough time to do what they want? And what's each person doing during the transitions? So everybody's got to be really clear on their roles. There was a time when in my classroom, we had 12 toddlers with 2 usually. We had no space for 15. And so there was such a demand at the time that my director put 15 in the classroom. And so it was literally the Friday we had 12, and on the Monday we had 15. But that Monday was also my first day back from 2 weeks of vacation, and my coworker's first day on vacation. So I came back to 15 with 2 brand new people. They were both new graduates from the college. And I'm like, okay, 9 o'clock, we need to do this and this and this. So who wants to do this? Who wants to do this? Who wants to do that? And it actually worked out quite well. They caught on very quickly in that, but it was very directive. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do that right now. And so who wants to do what, right? So really communicating and planning that, what everyone's responsible for. Singing, playing games, guessing games, rhymes, like I noticed more and more people aren't singing as much as they used to, and I don't know if that's just my observations, but people, I think with the advent of Google and Google Siri and Alexa and Hey Google and play this and play that, and people aren't singing as much anymore. I had so many songs, I had so many oh, my Google just woke up. Look at that. Stop that. Like I made up songs. Like we had a song, I took Mary Poppins, Let's Go Fly a Kite, and became a song, Let's Go to the Gate so we won't be late. Right. And there's not enough, there's not as much singing anymore. And I don't know. I mean, I know when I was 20, I wasn't singing. I wasn't feeling confident enough to sing in front of a group, but it's just anyway, that's a whole other conversation. That could be a whole other workshop. So games, guessing games, reciting rhymes, finger plays, right? You don't need materials for the finger plays because they're going to have to wait, right? And so what can we do with them while they're waiting? At the bus stop, we would play I Spy, right? And I would kind of walk and then look down the block and I spy a blue truck and oh, there it is, right? So just games. Oh, thank you, Charlene. Glad you got back. Yeah, creating a song on the spot. We used to joke that my coworker can make a song about anything, and someone said, "Oh yeah, make a song about the Zamboni," and she did make a song about the Zamboni. But anyway, just singing and making up songs, and it just draws them in. I don't know, it just draws them in more than like Spotify or something like that. But anyway, that's my soapbox for the day. So singing, playing words, like you could have a little cue card or something, if you have a lanyard with your ID or something, or a little lanyard with songs, even just the titles of songs. I'm realizing I'm losing my repertoire of songs, but having even just a list of titles of different songs that you can, we'll do this one right now, right? So I mean, there's times that they do have to wait, and so what kind of repertoire do you have? Any favorites? Anyone? Yeah, being funny. They love catching you making mistakes, right? So I used to have finger play. I had finger puppets, and it was the 5 monkeys. I would purposefully put on one elephant. I'd put a monkey and I'd put on an elephant, and the toddlers were like leaning forward, anticipating, knowing that I'm going to make a mistake. And I put the elephant on, and I start singing, and they'd be, oh, la, 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 that's an elephant. And how did you get on there? Oh my goodness, Mr. Elephant, And so being silly, they love catching you making mistakes. A song, the table song, 17 pickles and a purple plum. I would say purple thumb, purple, words, and then I was like purple bum, right? Just having fun and being silly. And a song bag, that's a great idea. A song worm with a different song on each segment. Yeah, and making it magical and mysterious, right? They love that mystery. They love that. Song bag is a great idea. How do you meet individual needs of children, right? We've talked about that already too. Some of them need more support than others, right? And different kinds of supports during transition. So not every child is going to respond the same way to a particular direction. And so it's about building relationships with children and getting to know them and knowing how they respond and knowing what motivates them. So maybe photos. We talked about that already as well too. Some do need a little bit more, more attention. And the more that you set up your transitions that children can do as much as them for themselves, the more you're able to support the children who need that little bit more. So photos of them doing the things in their space, directions, if you can learn home language, sign language, if you can learn a few words. I used to have an Arabic English translation dictionary in my class. It was like a visual dictionary. I had a lot of families that came, centers that was close to St. Mary's University, and they were going for an English program there. And I had this this dictionary, and this father came in one time and I had to explain his daughter had diarrhea. And he's like, what is that? So I pulled the dictionary out, found the word, and it was written in Arabic beside it. And he goes, oh, right. But just learning a few words and even just learning hello and goodbye, that makes such a difference to the families. So, I had one time I realized in 12 children, I had 13 different languages in the classroom at one time. And I always learned hello and goodbye at least. And I tried to learn a few more words, but the Russian, I could not get goodbye in Russian. I could say hello was privyet, but I could not get by. And the father kept trying to teach me and I could not wrap my tongue around it. And he said, you can just say paka paka. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. What's that? And he said, it's like baby bye-bye. I'm like, oh, but just the recognition that, wanting to learn that language and is so powerful. So, trying to learn some words in their languages. Individual warning to a child, right? So if you know one child's going to have a stronger reaction, start earlier with them and come over to them quietly and say, I'm going to help you get ready to move on to the next thing, whatever it may be. Do you have too many transitions? Right? So that's something to consider as well, is maybe we could eliminate some transitions. Do you find children becoming frustrated not having enough time to finish a project? So you may have to look at how your schedule is set up. How do you help children become more independent across the year? Right? So in September versus June, right, there's going to be a lot of differing abilities. So how do you build that into your transition planning over the year? Do you make it more challenging over the year? Do you make it so that they can be more independent over the year? And, how do you set that up? How do you help them become more independent? Like gathering their clothes together, right? Putting on their own clothes, picking up toys, right? So how do you set up your environment so they can be successful in that? And so I think of September, and I think of toddlers. I had a lot of younger ones, 18, 19, 20-month-olds seem to move over in September often, or even just new ones that just new to the center. And we pared back a lot of our environment. We took things off the shelf. We had fewer. We had a lot of variety. We had fewer items. So, we wouldn't have all the art supplies out yet. We have a few things and teach them to use the materials respectfully. And then as they got older, we added more and more materials into the classroom, and so it became more diverse and became more varieties even, and which meant more organization and things that needed to happen as well. Do you provide acknowledgement to children following transitions that go smoothly? Now, I put the word acknowledgement in there very purposefully because I'm doing another workshop in August around the words that we use. And this is something that I'm really tuned into, and how we recognize children. What does positive attention look like? Right? Do we just say good job? What does good job mean? Right? Rayo, positive descriptive feedback. I see you. I see you. Thank you for putting that puzzle on the shelf. That was a hard puzzle. Thank you for finishing it and putting it away. They saw me, right? Like, so, I see lots of things. We get stickers or something, rewards or something for cleaning up. You want to acknowledge times that they clean up without prompting even, like, wow, I saw that. Thank you. Thumbs up or something, a smile across the room. Let's think what that acknowledgement can look like and what it can sound like. I don't know. I have this in here as a possible conversation. There's lots of people out there who see value in sticker charts and other rewards and things like, some of those things. That can be a conversation if people have, feelings on these. My personal feeling is it kind of creates, I say, praise junkies, for lack of a better word, because they're doing things for external motivation just to get something. And what about the child who doesn't have a lot of stickers on their chart? And just so this could be a separate conversation, or it could be something that, oh, okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for joining, and yeah, we'll talk soon. Right. So just I just want to put out there is I don't know if anyone has used these in the past or not, but it's just I have particular thoughts on them and thinking about, is there other ways that we can recognize and acknowledge children? Denise talking about filling a bucket with feelings. Oh, is that the Fill Your Bucket, that book? Yeah. Charlene's not a fan. Okay. So yeah, there was one summer I had a school age group that was really challenging. And this is 25 years ago now. It doesn't matter. Many decades ago. Would I have done this now? Probably not. But at that time, I had a really challenging group. Like, we had some children that could be like physically violent and a lot of challenges. And so we would have outings all summer, and at the end of summer, we actually took our school-age children camping for 2 nights. Like, we literally took them to a local provincial park, and we had the group camping area. We took them camping. It was 2 nights, 3 days. And my teachers all wanted to go. Like, I was the director of this center, and the teachers were all, can I go? Because it's so much fun. And the children, when they're out there, nature and that, like, it was magical. But this one summer, I was really worried about getting through the summer with this particular group. So we actually created together with the children, we created a currency almost. And that if you wanted to go camping, you had to have 150, I don't know, dollars, whatever we called it. And so they would earn currency and they would lose currency. And so we did it with the school age. They made the rules. And we had other trips before the end of summer trip that didn't cost as much money. And all it took is for one of the girls to not go on a bigger trip. She didn't have enough money. And it was heartbreaking because that was a deal we all made, though. And we got through that summer. And all the children went on the trip, and I think a couple of the boys still in my mind, how they're doing today, right? Like, you have those children that you always wonder how they're going to do. But it got us through that summer, and the children were involved in setting up the rules, so to speak. So would I do it now? I don't know, but at that time, it helped out that summer. So how do you acknowledge children when they do things smoothly, right? How do you prepare children to move from one activity to another? How do you give your warnings? How do you pitch your schedules, those kind of things? So thinking back to all those elements for good transition, do you have those included? Okay, so that was kind of a checklist of thinking about how your transitions go. What I thought we could do now is look at some common transition frustrations, and then explore some and think about these questions in relation to those times of the day. What could go wrong during that transition? What might be some reasons for it going wrong? What could cause some disruptions? And are there ways to minimize or eliminate the transition? So, I mean, ideally, I don't know if people feel comfortable coming on mic or not. That's okay. I totally respect and understand, that sometimes it's better to chat. Some people prefer talking is a little bit faster, but let's put up a scenario like going outside. So think about first, what could go wrong during the transition to outside? So I'll give you a few minutes to think, to type, or if you wanted to go on mic, I'll give you a few minutes to think about that. It's winter, coats and boots. Oh, Charlene, yes. And if I had children put on their snow pants backwards, I'd let them. I wouldn't bother saying anything. I mean, I'd zip them up from behind and off they go. See, with their boots, if the boots were on the wrong feet, all I would say is, do your feet feel okay? Are you they comfortable? Because if they're comfortable, if they're not, if they're hurting, we can switch the boots. And if they're fine, right? So, yeah, I agree, Charlene, right? So it doesn't matter if their snow pants are on backwards. But yeah, if they're not perfect, if they're not snow pants on first, yeah, that could be frustrating. Children get distracted, overwhelmed. Yes, distracted and overwhelmed. Especially imagine if in my center there with that narrow hallway had all 12 out there trying to get dressed. Now getting undressed, coming back inside, and the 12 are out there, we would certainly try and as they finished up, one of the teachers would go in the classroom and they would start going in. But yeah, could be overwhelming. And other people, it's distracting them. Right. In our case, because our hallway was so narrow, and I don't know if you remember in the picture, the entrance to the center was right by our set of lockers. So all the other classrooms were down the hallway. And so they had to pass us to go outside. And so if we were getting dressed at the same time, we'd have to, okay, toddlers, everybody go sit in your lockers, move everything over, let the other kids go by, and then, okay, let's carry on getting dressed. So other people in the hallways definitely be a distraction. Close cubbies, greater chance of touching bodies. Yes, pushing, disagreements, taking each other items. Other classrooms walking through our class. Yeah, Denise, probably like the same image I'm seeing with other classrooms walking through us. We used to stop. We used to make it a ritual, and we have high fives. We're going to high five when you go by, and it turned it into a community building kind of event instead of just, oh, here they come again, we've got to move. We try not to. We'd always try to coordinate and say, wait, but sometimes it just is, right? So lots of distractions, overwhelmed, that's right. And so what could be some causes? Maybe timing, right? Like we said, sometimes the timing, and if you can't, in a school, you probably can't control that timing as much as in a smaller regulated childcare program, but too many choices. Absolutely. Now, to minimize or eliminate going outside, we can't eliminate going outside. Thank you, Charlene. I went too soon. Instructions not clear. Right, so go get dressed. Right, so when you say go get dressed, maybe go get your snow pants on first. Okay, go get your snow pants on. Maybe, a little bit clearer instruction and more specific. So we can't eliminate the outside transition. We definitely don't want to eliminate the transition and go outside, right? That's really important. Can you go out in small groups? Can you take the first 6 or 8? Okay, these ones are finished. Let's go and get dressed, and others stay behind and carry on for a little bit longer. I know in pre-primary you've got a little bit more flexibility in your schedule in going outside. I think was it fairly typical that you have a morning outside and then after lunch and a little bit of a quiet time to go outside again, typically twice a day going outside? regulated childcare. They have to go outside twice a day. But there are moments where they can have exemptions to that. There was, there have been some times in my classroom where something really amazing is going on, and I actually made a learning story of this moment, and it was such a magical time that we decided we're not going to go outside this afternoon. We're going to follow this through. And so, do we have to go outside every single time just because it says it on the schedule, right? If you're disrupting something that's really purposeful going on in the classroom, maybe we don't always have to go outside, but maybe half the group can. Charlene, you get ready when the school kids come in. Right, so after they're done recess. So yeah, it's choosing your words. Oh, put the paint on the table, and they did. All right, they sure did. That's right, every single word. We've got to be so thoughtful, and that's going to be the topic of the workshop I do in August. Is thinking about the words that we use. So yes, going outside. I mean, especially in the wintertime, right? That's one of the moments of waiting. What I had in my hallway was a box of books that was just for the hallway. That's the only time they saw the books. It was in the hallway, and so as they finished up, they could sit and look at the books. And I also didn't get them completely dressed, right? So we would try to get snow pants on first. Now again, these are younger ones that needed more of the help. So I would help them get their snow pants first. And then I would go back and help them with their jackets. And then finally, well, actually no, mittens. I would put mittens on first because with toddlers, right? Put the mitten on, then you pull a jacket on and have a better chance of keeping the mittens on. But so I wouldn't get one child dressed completely. I would get them all dressed halfway, and then get them, get the final pieces of the hats on last, because they will get hot. When I get hot, right, I get overheated, and I'm grouchy. And so thinking about how we get dressed. Remember when I first started, I had one of the teachers who was in my center. She actually instructed them, now everybody get your snow pants on. Maybe that's where I got her from. And it was like it was okay. Now everybody get your jackets. Like it was almost like I think with that. Maybe that's where it came from. But thinking about how we get dressed, and then knowing some will get really fast, and knowing that we want to be, I guess, conscious too of those little things, like getting the elastic of the snow pants outside the boots, right? So you don't see bare skin showing and things like that. But it's thinking of ways how we could shift that around a little bit. Now I do have getting ready for a rest time, right? Because I wasn't completely sure of the audience. I think with mostly pre-primary rest time / nap time is not a consideration for a lot of the pre-primary programs. So we don't have to examine this one in detail, but I just generally speaking, right, that I can say from experiences that I've seen, children start wandering, they start walking in all the different beds. I start playing toys on the shelves, and so lots of different things could go wrong during the transition to rest time. And looking at some causes, I've thought, well, I've never been a believer of blocking shelves or covering shelves. Then it becomes teacher control. We just teach children to respect the materials and being very thoughtful where we place our children. Right. So maybe the beds are in the same place all the time. Maybe they're always different places. Maybe, that everybody's trying to go to bed at the same time. And so you've got too many children to try to settle down. So the ways we tried to minimize that was putting the beds in the same spot every single day. Right. And having children going to bed as they finish lunch and not having to wait, so that, some could settle in more easily. So same kind of deal, right? Making it more individualized. I had one more thing to think about, was cleanup time. That's a very common frustration for educators. And I think we could all imagine what can go wrong during cleanup time. We've all been there. So again, just thinking about trying to anticipate what could go wrong. And then if you can anticipate them in advance, then you can strategize of preventing them from even happening in the first place, right? So much of our guidance strategies should be indirect and setting up our environment, which includes our schedule and transition. We think about our environment, we think about our physical space. We also have to think about our environment in terms of time, right? And if we set that up so that we can try and prevent some possible scenarios. So again, chaos, people running around, wandering aimlessly, you start playing somewhere else, they'll start hiding, right? Some children hide during cleanup time because they know that something's happening. So causes, lots of different causes. Denise, yes. A spot for children to save their work. Right. We had a saving shelf by the bathroom. So when toddlers were not wanting to let go of what they were doing, we can put it on the saving shelf and then they get it after. They were more willing to come to the bathroom when they knew they could save their work. So causes of cleanup time, that's an organization issue, maybe sometimes of clear organization on the shelves, labeling, that maybe there's too many materials. I've seen some places where there may be 12 or 15 puzzles on the shelf and they're all missing pieces and they're all disheveled and it's better to have fewer puzzles and rotate them more often. Right? Because that can be overwhelming. If it's block, try breaking it. Oh, that's great. I know sometimes you can't save you can't save the blocks overnight, right? Because of janitors and things too. But taking pictures of their work and recognizing that how important their work was and how much they put into it. Well, that's a good idea for minimizing those transitions. And just accepting it. So I'm just looking at time. I wasn't always sure of how the time would go, especially this is a workshop I've done a few times, but this first time I've done it online. So I'm just kind of thinking about because what we could do. Actually, yeah, let's do, we're going to do an exercise. So it's a little visualization exercise. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, sorry, hang on, I just got to reset this. All right. Oh, Charlene, sorry. Giving jobs to Denise. Yes. I know the Florida classroom in the center I worked at, they had a job board, and every day they would be part of the morning meeting. Okay, whose jobs today? And yeah, they had they took those jobs really seriously. And job board. All right, so we're going to do a little relaxation exercise here. So relax, close your eyes if you would like. I don't know. So whatever works for you in terms of relaxing, we're just going to do a little exercise here. Think about what you do on a typical weekday morning. What's a typical weekday morning look like? You just woke up. What time is it? How do you feel? Are you ready to get out of bed? I certainly am not. I have 2 snoozes. My alarm, I set it earlier so I can just have that extra 10 minutes. What do you do first? You shower, you get dressed, you eat breakfast, maybe wake up someone else. Do you like the morning, a few moments of quiet before everybody else gets up? Besides getting yourself ready, what else do you have to do? Maybe throw a load of laundry in, Maybe throw stuff in the crock pot for dinner, feed the cat, make lunches. What else is happening in your morning? Then you have to get ready and go to work. Do you have everything you need? Are you on time? Are you late? Where are your keys, your bag, got your lunch, everything like that ready with you? How are you feeling? You're relaxed, eager, excited, looking forward to the day, or tired, or grumpy, you rushed. So think about a typical morning. I know some of my mornings I would why didn't I do this last night? And sometimes get mad at myself for procrastinating or not making lunch the night before or something like that. But what do you do in your day, in your mornings that help you? Here. How do you feel when it goes smooth? What are some words that come to mind? How do you feel when it's smooth? Versus those days that are rushed. Organic. Ooh, I like that word. Organic. And then when I feel rushed, I don't know if regret is the right word, but the whole why didn't I do this last night? Or you plan to have a certain outfit and then you realize a piece of the outfit's still in the wash or something or didn't get cleaned. So I'll put regretful because I can't think of a better word right now. Anxious. Thank you, Melissa. Yes. Gonna be late, gonna be late, gonna be late. I hate being late. How do you feel if your alarm didn't go off and you wake up late? Oh, that's the worst. Be flexible. Definitely a key skill for educators, right? To be able to just go with the flow. Playing catch up, yes. Maybe feel calm when it's smooth. Things could be worse. Yeah, so perspective. I think that whenever there was I live in Dartmouth and work in Halifax, so regularly, right? We know the bridges, that there's accidents on the bridge, and sometimes I'm stuck in it and I can't go anywhere, and I could be, but I always stop myself and say, at least it's not me in the accident. And then that just changes my whole demeanor, and I put on the music, and I just, nothing I can do, so I just wait it out. So. Feel disorganized. I feel disorganized a lot. Absolutely. Get the children help. They love that. I need you. Right? I need you to help me. And okay. Right. I just found that very, very powerful with the hollers even. I need you to. I need your help. So think about that with our children too, right? Because our children have those mornings, right? And we think about how they're coming to our centers, and when their routines are well planned and consistent and predictable, and how they feel when routines are changed or disrupted, right? It's the same way that we feel with those mornings that don't go well. So looking at the time, oh my goodness, it's already 1:15. Let's kind of take all of that now and look at the kind of the bigger picture with our schedules. So we're probably not going to have as much time for this as I first planned for, but that's great because we had a lot of great conversation and ideas, and thank you for all your contributions. And I apologize if this next part feels a little bit rushed, but I want to get you the information. And it sounds like a lot of you, even from the first questions, feel pretty good about your schedules. And hopefully you've gotten, a few ideas, and hopefully you've gotten some validation for what things go really well. But when we look at our schedule, probably realize that our transitions make up most of our schedule, right? So when we think about that, I think about what does make a good schedule. So the first thing is it's predictable. Everything happens at the same time every day, right? In the same order. Not time, maybe perchance, but the same order every day. It's predictable, right? No matter what comes first, second, third, these events always follow each other. Children are more confident, right? They feel safe, secure. They're not wondering, they're not like, oh, what's going to happen, right? And when they feel safe and secure, then they start learning. And when they see those patterns, and we recognize those patterns, right? So they don't have to guess what's happening next. As you can imagine, that's a little bit stressful, right? And when children are stressed, I don't know how much, if you been to the Harvard has a site on the child and brain development and what stress does to the brain, and you can't learn, you can't think when you're in stress mode, right? And so if they're stressed, then nothing can happen. So they have to feel safe and secure, and it's comforting and helpful, right? So predictability. So that's where I say the mat's in the same spot every day. They set the same tables every day, right? So there's some things that are just predictable that way. But a good schedule has to be also flexible. How can you be predictable but yet be flexible, right? This sounds contradictory. Like how can it be both? So this is where I was beginning to get at when thinking about the schedule as blocks of time rather than a clock. Right? So instead of thinking about 9:30, 10 o'clock, feel the room, feel the energy, the pulse, feel whatever you want to call it, the mood, the vibe, and use that as a gauge. Are they really engaged? Are they all deeply doing something? Or is there beginning to get a little bit more restless? Are they a little bit, the play is becoming a little bit more surface, superficial type play? That's where you can say, okay, well, free play, but maybe free play is going to be a little shorter today. Another day, maybe free play can be longer, right? So that's where that flexibility comes in. It's blocks of time and not times on the clock. So we always had free play, and then we always had circle time, and then we always went outside. Except for the days, we went out in all weather, except for the days when it was really bad rain wind, like toddlers that get blown over kind of wind. But we'd explain that, right? We can explain that to the toddlers. And toddlers were so ingrained in this routine that at the end of circle time, part of my closure to circle time was take their shoes and put it on a certain spot and then go. But there'd be days I say, okay, it is really raining outside today and so windy, it would not be fun outside. So we're not going to go outside today. So don't take off your shoes. And then they would still take off their shoes, right? Because it gets so ingrained in their routine. Say, oh, okay, well, let's put them back on. We're going to stay inside today. Charlene, one day kids are so engaged in the arts section, they stayed an hour. Wow. We'll never say time to go. Oh, wonderful. That's right. Leave them where the interest is. Yeah, definitely. And just think the respect that we're giving them when we say that, right? So This allows the children to get deeply involved in their play. And that's what you mentioned, Charlene. That's exactly the scenario that you brought up, right? It allows them to get deeply in their play. So it's not just, they know they've only got a half hour for play. They haven't got much time. They're just going to be up here on the surface level to play. That's when you start getting like superhero play, or, you get that superficial kind of play, right? So they can get deeply involved in their play. So a good schedule is built around individuals and not the reverse. And the younger the children, the more important that is, right? So for infant classrooms, that if a child needs 2 naps, they have 2 naps. You don't keep them awake until after lunch. If they don't have the time, they don't get engaged. I remember this is 30 years ago now, more even. I went to a center observing, and they actually had stations, and they had 20 minutes at each station, and the groups, literally timer beeped, the whole group would move to the next station after the timer went off, and it was just like, and so they were doing nothing. They were just they were disengaged. You could see some of them had checked out, and so again, 30 years ago was a totally different time. But basing it on the individuals, right? So resist temptation to carve it into bits, but see it as one flow. It all, we want to avoid the disruptive stops and starts. To avoid that hurry up and wait, right? Hurry up, let's get, and then wait. Hurry up and get dressed, and now wait, right? We want to stop the hurry up and wait kind of feeling. So knowing that the schedule is mostly transitions, whether it's, primary human needs, food, sleep, if it's diapering or bathrooming, clothing, nurturing, others are addressed, right? Like I used to love my diapering times, the one-on-one with that child, me and that child one-on-one. And I never rushed them, right? Because we were doing them during free play, we could spend that time with the child, and just that moment of connection. And I just loved diapering time. It was just just that moment. I would take time and talk with them there. And anyway, just that connection, the relationships. Because, it doesn't help to rush through them, right? Because if you're always rushing, how do you feel, right? A good schedule has child-initiated blocks with teacher-initiated, right? Less teacher-directed, more child-initiated is the goal. So open snack is an example of, if you have a snack where everybody sits down at the same time, that's a teacher-directed time of your day. An open snack that's happening during free play time moves it from a teacher-directed to child-initiated time. And there's so many other benefits of open snack too, but I don't know if everybody does open snack or not, but that that would be a conversation another time as well. But as much as you can give in the child's control, then the smoother it will go. Unbroken periods of time, large unbroken periods of time, right? So when regulated child came out with these rules, they had to go outside for twice a day for at least 30 minutes. I said, it's better to be outside for an hour in the morning than for 30-minute blocks, because while toddlers, getting them dressed takes half an hour by itself, right? So they don't actually get much time outside if they're outside for 30 minutes, but because that hour gives them more time to get deeply involved in their play. And so when we have to be directive, right, like lunchtime is usually more structured in regulated childcare settings, because there's a cook and they need the dishes, and lunch breaks and things like that as well too, which, that's another conversation too, but try to make them brief and as minimal as possible. So much of the day is spent developmentally appropriate, is blocks of child-initiated free choice time inside and out. So try to make that as much of a day as you can. You also want to balance active, passive, indoor, outdoor learning experiences, right? So you don't want a whole bunch of passive activities in a row. Then it prevents excessive fatigue. So if they're go, 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 right? As opposed to sitting, right? So if you have a group time and you're sitting, then you have a story time and you're sitting, and then you have lunch and you're sitting, and then, okay, now it's rest time, right? That's a lot of, imbalance in that. So you want to make sure that, that if they require concentration earlier in the day, right? Tends to be more focused time. Maybe before lunch or nap, shorter, quiet group stories. Music may help change the tone from active to passive, but doing it more subtly. And I got one more, Calvin and Hobbes, because it's just one of my favorite cartoons. So you can see he's in pajamas, he's laughing and running, and there's Mom, I've got you. He's laughing and tickle, tickle. I'm going to get you. I'm coming after you, laughing and running. Here I come. Gotcha, Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Laughing and laughing. Whew, whew. We better stop. Calm down, calm down. And he's laughing, and then he's still laughing and panting, and she's, whew. And her plan backfired, Dad. I'm all wound up, but now Mom's been put to bed. So you want to make sure that you plan that thoughtfully as well. And here's where we're talking about good, reasonable pace for participation and not rushing children. Making sure they have enough time to complete what they're doing. And I realize I'm hoping not feeling rushed right now, but I want to make sure we respect our time as well. The hurry up and wait, when I was talking about that, hurry up and wait, right? So reasonable pace for participation. Enough time for children to complete their tasks meaningfully, right? Allows for individual differences. So I'm going to play one more video. This is an example of a very young toddler and the transition from lunch to nap. So you'll see there's someone already on the bed. You'll see that one table is cleaned up, and this is my table, and you can see the toddlers are very involved in their cleanup, but reasonable pace and not rushing. So just watch what's happening.
Oh, yes.
William be in here? Like, is he in Burlington?
Nope.
Well, what's your name, William? Who's Bob? Who's Bob? Get down! Who's Bob? Get down! Bob, get down!
Put it there. Put it there. Where are the excellent? And where are the municipal stuff in here? I'm not sure. Can you come? Adrian, come this way, please. Adrian, no, I know. It's not better. Thank you.
So being patient, letting them, instead of just kind of helping them along, right? Just letting them go at their own pace and allowing for that, so you're not feeling rushed. So the bottom line is that when children are bored, they're going to find ways to amuse themselves. And that's, again, Calvin, fishing is the most boring sport in the world. We've been sitting here for 20 minutes and not one thing has happened. So Hobbes has a little moment to think. Wow, splash. So recognizing the developmental difference in attention span. Right. So if you do large group experiences, very, very, short for younger children, older children, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes I could be really on my game and have a really good circle time with my toddlers. And, I can go for 15, 20 minutes sometimes too. But just thinking about the pacing for the children. So that actually is really good timing. I did have another example of looking closely at a schedule, but just the activity was going to be look at a schedule and how could we eliminate some of the transitions and change some of the timings. But I get a sense that those of you here have a good feel for your schedules as well, and hopefully there's some information in here that maybe give you some ideas. And thank you for sharing your ideas with each other as well. I'm going to leave one last message for the bottom line is to not rush. And this is a quote. You're worried about seeing him spend his early years in doing nothing. What? Is it nothing to be happy, nothing to skip, play, and run around all day long? Never in his life will he ever be so busy again. And that's Jean-Jacques Rousseau in 1762, recognizing to not rush children. He was an advocate of new educational practice, emphasizes the natural development of children's abilities. And, the same is still true today. So thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate, taking time out of your summer to come and join me and share your information and knowledge as well. If you have any questions, you can go back to that. You can email me. I'll put my email in the chat as well, too, if you have any questions or if you wanted to follow up a conversation at all. And again, thank you for joining me. And yeah, I'm sure we'll cross paths and enjoy the rest of your day. It's looks like it's starting to get sunny out there, so it might be a good day in the end. And again, yeah, thank you, and have a good rest of your summer as well too. It's going very quickly, but enjoy it while we can. So thank you again, and we'll talk soon. And also thank you for the beginning where we were just kind of figuring out this whole platform.